Welcome back. This is Toni Wade, the Compassionate Investor, and we are talking about wholesaling. And I'm here with my friend Ben Dow with the 5 Minute Landlord podcast. And we're going to talk specifically about how once you get a deal, how you get a deal and structure it, like make sure the numbers work, and then how you secure the deal. So wholesaling, do you have an example you can share on anything you've done, or I can share one of mine?
So usually if I know what the ARV is, the after repair value, like the market value, then you want to offer a discount on that, like 80%, 75, 80, 90%, depending on the market. So you have to kind of know your numbers first, and then you make that offer to them, and they'll either say yes or no.
Exactly. And I mean, in a nutshell, you have to make sure you make it a deal. So I would say first, know your numbers. So let's say that you got a lead on a property at ABC Main Street, or 123 Main Street. So what you would do is you would actually take that address, and what I typically do, I go to totalviewrealestate.com. You can also go to Redfin, and see, and I'm a broker, so I have other tools to my access. You might have an agent who could share. You could have them get you some information, but you need some true comps for that address, because that is the driver to what you're going to choose the deal to be. So after you've looked that address up, it came back with I'm gonna get real numbers so I don't have to do too much math, even though I am good at math. But anyway, $100,000. We know that that's your after repair value. That's what ARV stands for. So going into the deal so that you can create it to be truly a deal, you want to at least give 70 to 80% depending on where it's located. Typically, we always use 70%, unless I'm like in a really top-notch, high-end, hard-to-get area. I'll do 80% of that value.
So you'd offer them $70,000 for that house.
Well, $70,000 if it needs no repairs. So that's $70,000, no repairs, perfect. I got $70,000 cash and it's yours. That would be how I would go about it. But if it needs repairs, let's say that you go in, and this is also another skill set you're going to have to learn, is how to evaluate what that value is. Let's say you go in, the bathroom's jacked up, you're going to have to do the bathroom over, or you have to come in and paint. You have to be able to add those numbers up, and they have tools like that online that you can evaluate deals. So I would encourage you, Google search it and look it up so you can see what the cost is to do certain things, because that'll be your number that you will work to, that you will back into the deal. So let's say that I came up with like maybe $20,000 worth of repairs that you're going to do. So you take the 70 or 20 from the 70, at least 50,000. So now my offer would be 50,000 for that property. Okay. Now you have to take it a step further, because you are a wholesaler. All right. And you have to think of a person who's going to fix it up. Their goal is to fix it up and make it nice. So I always go into at least, if I know I want to make $5,000 on this deal, $10,000, then I go back even further. So I hope you guys followed that. We were at $100,000 ARV. $70,000 would have been my offer if it were perfect. $50,000 is if it needed repairs, which is now at $50,000, and then I put my $5,000 in there. What number am I at now? $45,000. So I would have been offering $45,000 to that person, and I need to secure that contract. And once I get that person saying, yes, I just want it done. Perfect, we're gonna close. So let's talk about what that looks like before we talk about the other piece. So, any questions for me yet?
No.
Okay, good. So, I now have a contract for $45,000. He's agreed to $45,000 for me purchasing this property. And my goal is to make it easy on them so that they don't have to do anything else. So we now need to write the contract up. I typically use a special sales contract agreement. You can get your hands on something like that even if you're not a broker. They're floating around out there on the internet and in your real estate investor world. I'd say get one of those. But the way in which you write that contract up, because now it is a binding contract you're creating, and your goal is to make sure you're creating something that you are going to close on, but you've built in safeties, I guess you could call it contingencies, to make sure that in case it doesn't look like everything you need it to look like, you can back out of the deal. All right. Now, when you've done wholesaling, have you ever gone in up front and said, "Hey, I'm going to wholesale this deal"? Have you ever done that?
No. No, I just say, hey, me or one of my partners will do it. Because you're in real estate. Contractors, landlords, and then usually there's an inspection period. So like 14-day inspection period, just to make sure that everything is what you say it is, and it also gives me time to find that buyer that I'm going to assign it to.
So however long you do it for is how long you have to find a buyer you're going to assign that contract to the buyer. Now I have to stress these things because it's important for you to understand. The way the contract is set up, it typically has language in it that speaks to assigning. You can assign a contract all day long as they don't say you cannot assign it. If they, meaning the person who you have this contract with, says, you know what, I don't want you assigning this contract to anybody, then that's a whole nother conversation that you have. But if they don't say anything, you could say on that first line the name of your LLC and or assigns. And the reason why sometimes, because let's say that the person you're buying it from says, well, what does and or assigns means? Well, by putting that in there, you might have multiple, you don't know how you're going to write this up. You could write it up to you want to make sure you're titling it properly. That's how I usually describe why I've added that there, because I might want to put it in another one of my entities, and I like to be able to have that flexibility. Are you okay with that? And usually they say okay, but you already know that you may possibly assign it because your goal is you're a wholesaler. You're trying to come in, make your fee, and keep it moving. You don't want to have to do all the flips, but this just opens that door, and you write that contract proper so that you have it labeled properly as whatever LLC and or assigns. Or you could just leave it as an LLC and then change it later. Oh, I decided I'm going to do it in this name instead. You just do that with the person you're buying the property from and just keep it moving. But you have to learn and be comfortable in being able to move that way. And as Ben mentioned earlier, you have to have that contingency period built in for you to do inspections. So get that built in up front. I would love to have 30 days or less to be able to come in and make sure I bring my contractors through, make sure there's something we didn't miss. I like to do 30 days personally, but they might say, no, I'm not going to give you 30 days, but I like to make it as long as I can, because if I know I'm going to wholesale that, I need as much time so that I can quickly find somebody who's going to want to see this property, buy this property, get the contract assigned to them so that we can get them under contract to move forward. So that's typically how I like to do it.
One thing I wanted to add is what I like to do is just keep the contract simple, 1 to 2 pages. Don't bombard them with the realtor contract that's 12 pages long, an initial on every line, because they want it to be simple. They just want the price, the address, close date, no contingencies.
Yeah.
I feel like if you bombard them with all that information, and if you're a realtor or not, then they can get overwhelmed.
Has that hurt? Have you ever ran into somebody who really didn't want to use a special sales contract? They only want to use a simple contract?
Well, one thing is that they know it's a standard form, but I think they get overwhelmed having to go through everything because they're trying to sell it. So a regular person like me that's not a realtor, I just have a one-page agreement, and then there's not really much to go over because I'm doing what I say in there, and it's not overwhelming for them.
So I think that's a good point that Ben made related to the particular contract. See, I am a broker. So because I am a broker, I'm going to use a special sales contract. And I've always used one because I've always been an agent and or broker. Ben is not. He likes to keep it simple. So whatever, I would say let your buyer dictate or their seller dictate which way you go, because you might get there, your goal is to get them comfortable with you, not comfortable with a piece of paper. So if you feel you can go in there with a 2-pager, get this under contract and keep it moving, then that's what you do. But your goal is to secure that deal, because that paper is the very thing that's going to allow you then to assign it to somebody else, and you need as much time to do it, which I like 30 days. He can do 14, I can do 30, but wherever you can get it so that you can then market that contract to another person and you can make the difference. That is your ultimate goal. So if you like what you heard, give me some feedback, give me some comments, and we'll be back in just a moment.